Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is Ash Quest, and this is Gate, designed and illustrated by Jason Glover of Grey Gnome Games. And this is Gates. You will know a new darkness with this expansion for Gate. So what is Gate? Gate is a tin game that is available on TheGameCrafter. For one player ages 12 and up, a session should last between 15 and 20 minutes, and it is part of Grey Gnome Games' Tin series. This is volume 1 in the series. Test your nerves in this solo play deck building medieval horror game that will have you dying for more. Can you save your town from the perils that lurk outside your gate? I didn't know zombies could be soy jacks. Inside you will find a bunch of stuff that you have to empty out this way because that's just the only choice you have with these tin games. It's okay. An instruction book that takes the form of several numbered cards, mint tin sized. Instructions for hardcore mode after you get used to the main game. A turn sequence / commands card. The 4 cards on which the game is truly played. On the reverse, they're hardcore mode sides. Hardcore. This calls itself a deck building game, but I want you to regard this as a tower defense game. At its core, that is what this is. In a nutshell, a tiny little nutshell. You set up your area, mark the spot on the pyramid, which advances ever slowly towards the skull, upon which it is game over. Use these strange red shards to keep track of enemy wounds, and you don't roll the 4d6 that are included with this game. You use these to track the stats of the tower, the farm, and the gate. You fend off monsters that come in waves. We have wave 1 monsters, wave 2 monsters, and wave 3 monsters. The expansion will add more of pretty much everything. There are also promo cards that you can get for Gate/Gates from the Gnome pack available on TheGameCrafter, and we'll take a look at the cards from that pack that are exclusive to this game. It's my aim to show you everything Gate and Gates related here. The monsters are going to advance no matter what. When they appear, something's going to happen. If they're still alive on the next turn, something's going to happen, and when they exit, something happens. And usually this something that happens is always going to relate to one of your places getting damaged and ticking down. Now your tower provides you a buff, +1 to a single attack once per turn while still standing, and the farm is +1 to a single purchase once per turn while still standing. These things can go all the way to 0 and be completely destroyed, and you won't lose the game. But attacks directed towards these locations will redirect towards the gate, and you have to protect the gate from these attacks as well as ones made directly against it from other things. Because if your gate is destroyed, the game ends immediately, hence the name of the game. Jason Glover has a rich world of lore at this point, with enemies such as the Spider and the Skelepede making an appearance in multiple games in the Tin series. You may recognize them from Tin Helm and Iron Helm, and or Tin Realm, and possibly we'll see them in the upcoming Underquest. Now all of these cards have the same back, but they have very different front contents. But all of them represent the villagers and champions that will help you in your journey to keep the enemies at bay that are ever steadily attacking your homestead. Get through the entire enemy deck alive and you win. In Gate, you take on the role of the leader of a medieval town that is being attacked by vile creatures that are pouring out of your local mine. I guess you dug too deep. You must command your citizens, recruit new ones, and attack these nightmare creatures in order to defend the town gate, tower, and local farm against this attack. Will you outlast the onslaught and be victorious, or will your gate be destroyed, or your people driven to madness by fear, hence the pyramid? A typical game of Gate may have this layout. Farm, gate, tower, pyramid. Dice set to what mode of play that you're playing, because the hardcore mode of the farm, for example, has 1 fewer hit point on it, and its buff has changed as well. It's +1 to a single purchase once per turn if the farm has 4 health, rather than throughout the entirety of it existing, and there are similar debuffs that occur during Nightmare mode. Now Gate can be pretty tough the first time you play it, but once you get the rhythm down and you know exactly kind of what moves to make, you can pretty much win almost any game of Gate. That's where the Nightmare mode comes in handy and where the expansion comes in handy. The expansion is actually volume 4 in the Tin series and re-establishes Zogar as the big bad in the Grey Gnome Games universe. Okay, so we've got our 4 spaces here with our cards. We need 8 more spaces allocated to the micro decks here, or the miniature deck, I mean. The micro decks cards are very, very small. We don't have any of those in this series. In this game, you'll shuffle all your wave 3 cards, and then you'll shuffle all your wave 2 cards, and then you'll shuffle all your wave 1 cards, and you'll place them together in a stack that has wave 1 on the top. When it's exhausted, you'll go to wave 2. When that's exhausted, it'll go to wave 3, and so on. That'll go up here. And these cards, these monsters that come from this deck, will steadily march towards the left. Actually, that goes here. All right, now we have citizen and hero cards. After we make sure to separate out the 3 that have an S in the top right corner for the starting, and you'll see each citizen has 1 or more of 4 different qualities. This is their purchasing power. This is how much they can contribute towards the purchase of a new villager who comes into your draw pile, from which you form your hand. That's where the deck building of all of this comes into play. And all the villagers have different stats. It's the configuration of these stats and the values therein that make each villager unique, but there are also abilities that are passive or sometimes active at the very bottom. The heroes, which we'll look at soon, are special one-use cards, higher stats. It would be too advantageous to keep them in your hand, so when you use one, it's done, it's taken out of the game. These are simply discarded, and when you completely run out of cards in your draw pile, you'll shuffle your discard pile and try drawing from it again as a new draw pile. The construction value allows you to repair things. The eyeball represents the calm of this particular villager, and you can use that to reduce the level of fear in the pyramid. The cube is going to advance along each of these spaces, and each time it advances onto a particular space, whatever it lands on, that symbol is going to go into effect. The game can actually end if it lands on the skull, if you even last that long. But attacks against your gate, farm, and tower can occur as well. Or you can gain hero cards, which is a good thing to happen, actually. But you can use the calm to drive the cube back 1 space. The only problem is you can't do all of these things with the same villager. You need these villagers to purchase more villagers to attack the monsters, which, by the way, they're going to do with the 4th and final symbol on their card, the crossed battle axes. The guard and the mason, for example, have 1 attack each. You are basically choosing which function that these are going to serve during your turn. Gate calls these heroes. This is the hero deck. As you can see, the hero deck consists of cards that are much stronger than your regular citizens. These are very situation dependent. The knight, for example, is 4 attack and has a 1-time use. This is absolutely going to crush most of the monsters in the game. The engineer has a 1-time use, but is going to be able to repair a single structure for 4. The baroness is worth 4 coins. The bishop is able to reduce your fear level by 3. And the traveler has a 1-time use, but allows you to draw 2 more cards and provides a 1 for basically any of the functions. Again, you have to choose which one you are going to do during your turn, and your situation may be different every single turn. When we flip over the top of the Wave 1 deck, we see we are going to be attacked by a plague rat. We don't have a lot to go on at this very beginning stage of the game. We have our 3 starter cards and that's it. We still have to build our citizen draw deck. So we'll take 3 citizens and draw them, filling in these spaces. We'll flip over a 4th citizen, place it at the top of the deck here. And now we have the citizens that we are able to hire or recruit to our cause if we can afford them. The cost of each citizen is in the upper right corner. The mason costs 3, the craftsman costs 3, the guardian costs 5, and the swindler costs 4. If we were to buy the mason for the 3 coins that he costs by combining our cards in our hand, see how we have 3 coins? That's it. We've used all of our citizenry for that turn, but we have recruited the mason to our cause, so he goes into our discard pile. And now we are going to refresh here, replace any citizens that were bought. And now the Tinkerer will be available for sale in the next turn. However, the Plague Rat will now get to attack us, and we have no way of defending. So all the Plague Rat's attack is unmitigatable. He hit, we know can block. The Plague Rat has 4 wounds or health or hit points, BP. It's going to attack the farm for 1. And it's going to cause the level of fear in the pyramid to go up by 1. Now the Plague Rat doesn't have to act alone. In fact, by the time the Plague Rat is ready to attack, it's already sequence number 6 in the turn sequence list. And then we go back to 1, which is enemies advance. And this is how the gameplay loop is, actually. Enemies advance, that's the first thing that happens. Then draw up, you're getting the cards from your draw pile, and that's going to be 3 every time. So since we shuffled these, we don't know which 3 are the starting cards and which one is the citizen, but in your first turn, you're only going to have the 3 starting cards and that's it. So you have to make your choice, attack or buy or what. But this is what your hand could look like when you draw early in the game after buying a mason. You can use commands now, and here are your commands. Recruit, if you can. Use cards, if you can. And then the enemy's attack. We haven't gone over commands yet. But after the enemy attacks, it's going to move, and then we're going back to phase 1, which is enemies advance, and that means a second enemy is now going to appear. Both of these enemies will be able to act during the enemy's attack phase. Now, fear not, or do be afraid, because 2 enemies is already a pretty bad situation, particularly in the more advanced waves. There can't be a third enemy on the board. Instead, the enemy that would be advancing further to the left to make room for a third enemy will instead get to make one final unblockable attack to the gate, regardless of where it says it's going to attack. For 1 damage, this card will be removed from the game as opposed to collected into a discard pile from which you will accumulate the scores on each card to determine your final score at the end of the game should you win. And that way you have something to build up to. Your score is going to vary. You're not going to be able to realistically kill every single enemy that comes out of the piles of waves. You just have to make management decisions each turn. It's a pretty breezy game. The decision management is fairly simple. For somebody who has an attention span that is sometimes challenging, like myself, it's a game that's fairly easy to concentrate on and strategize. Even if you get distracted, you can come back to it, and the snapshot of what's there makes sense. Play it once, die. Play it again, die. Third time, you'll have the rhythm down. I want to talk about the commands. Now, all of the commands cost money, but they provide specific benefits to your situation. The problem is, this phase comes before the use cards phase, so you may skip this altogether if you're wanting to keep the villagers that you've drawn up in the draw up phase. You're going to spend coins, basically, and any villager who is used as income is going to be placed in the discard pile, so you are weighing your actions here. But if you don't have a lot of enemies on the board and you think you can afford a little bit of a respite in order to repair something, or go lower on the pyramid or something else, or even if there are enemies and you need to focus on a different priority and not just attacking the enemy, you can use commands, and you can also use commands to attack the enemy. Call to arms. It costs 2 coins and results in an attack. Just 1. This can be useful when you have a lot of cards that have useful functions, but you need to attack the enemy, but you don't have any attack to use for that round. So you're basically buying an attack. They're going away, so you won't be able to use them for other functions. They'll go into your discard pile until you're ready to shuffle that and make it into a draw pile again next turn, but at least you'll have attacked the enemy. The caravan costs 1 coin. You can discard and replace all recruits. This is your refresh, not your hand. Festival, to forget your sorrows, pay 2 coins. You can go down 1 in the pyramid, and fortify to repair the walls. You get to repair something by 1 with 2 coins. Again, these are just to kind of trade off doing certain good things as a last-ditch effort if you have drawn a bunch of citizenry that don't have the stats that you need for a particular function otherwise. That's more or less gates. I didn't talk about these blood red rubies, did I? These are to mark wounds on the monsters so you can keep track of how much you've damaged them, which is important because there are a lot of monsters that are strong enough that you won't be able to kill them in just 1 turn, at least not with your weak citizens. You'll need stronger ones, like the Guardian, combined with other ones that have high attack, to be able to take some of these out in a single turn. And even then, once the Wave 3 hits, those are monsters you have to kill. They're not advancing to the left anymore. They are just here for a final showdown, a standoff. So you'll use these cubes to track how much damage you've done to a given monster. And this doesn't change this monster's final attack on your gate when it leaves, so just be mindful of that. See how knowing when to attack is key? Alright, let's open up the expansion. Gates. You will know a new darkness. Doesn't look like a lot, but we know that there's not a lot to the game in terms of materials. It's mainly the meat of the game, the mechanics, that make it what it is, which is well designed and very replayable. But I do see 3 more of these blood red rubies, and that does not bode well because it means probably that there are going to be stronger enemies. We have 2 more D6 and 2 setup cards. With gates, we get 12 citizen cards, 10 enemy cards, 2 heroes, 2 starting cards, 5 barricades, 2 location cards, 2 6-sided dice, and 3 damage tokens. So for the starting cards, we're going to shuffle the new ones with the ones from the base game. We have 2 location cards here, and the rest of the cards are going to be these. And there they are, the other wave cards. So now you could draw the peddler, and you could draw the storyteller. As you can see, they have their own boons. The storyteller, recruiting a citizen, costs 1 less gold this turn, and the peddler, the festival command, costs 1 gold this turn. We have new heroes as well, the sorceress and the clay golem. The clay golem has 1 of every stat and allows you to place 2 barricades, one-time use. The sorceress has 2 of every stat. You may place 1 barricade, one-time use. If it seems OP, it's not, because we have a lot more wave cards. And we have Zogar, the big bad of the Tin series. We also have a lot of citizens to draw from now. The woodcutter, the merchant, the barricades. The barricades? That's right, the barricades will absorb all damage from a single attack to the location they are protecting. They also deal 1 damage to the foe that dealt the attack, but this is a one-time use. So when the barricade shows up, you can spend the coin to get it and then place it onto one of the locations. It's worth noting that the hero deck will only have 3 cards, so you'll shuffle the new heroes in and then you'll remove 2 at random to ensure that you only have 5 cards in that deck. We have 2 new location cards, the Mill and the Tavern, and yes, they have their own nightmare modes. The Mill goes between the farm and the gate, and the Tavern between the gate and the tower. The new D6 will track the health of these 2 places. When the Mill is active, building a barricade costs 1 less, and when the Tavern is active, +1 when calming once per turn while it's still standing. We will add the new enemy cards in with the ones from the base game, making sure to keep each wave separate. There should now be 6 cards in each wave plus the Zogar card, but after adding these in, we're going to remove 2 cards at random without looking at them. This will leave you with 4 cards per wave. So now instead of 3 waves with 3 cards each and a total of 9 cards, we're going to have a total of 12 cards because we're going to have 4 cards for each of the 3 waves, plus our final battle with Zogar. I won't show you Zogar's stats. Well, except you can see his victory points, which is 11. That's the 11 in points that you'll score at the end of a successful game. All the enemies have those, by the way. The little number in the star, that's the score. Enemies like the Devourer will actually deal 1 damage to each location now. So just because you have extra places doesn't mean that this is going to be an easier game. Grey Gnome Games is actually really good at game balance on the side of making things a little more challenging. So no matter which of these games you're playing, you're going to have a lot of fun in the challenge and reward balance. That's Gate and Gates, but there are a couple more cards that I would like to show you from the Gnome Pack. The Gnome Pack is like every promo card ever. Whenever you buy one of these tin games, one of the ones that are developed by Grey Gnome Games, you usually get a couple of cards that are intended for other games. It's a fun little way to reward you if you are collecting all of the games. You'll have little bonus cards from each of the games that are for the other games. Take up a little bit of space, but if you get the Gnome Pack, however, then you're going to get all of the promo stuff for all of the games so far. The Gnome Pack comes with an additional Wave 1 card, an additional Wave 2 card, and an additional Wave 3 card for your enemies. There's no rules on how to incorporate these, so just shuffle them in and remove 1 so that you still have 3 groups of 3 if you're playing with the base game, or you can shuffle them in and remove cards as appropriate if you're playing the Gates version. Then we have a new starting card in the Drunkard, +1 damage in combat as long as the Tavern is standing, so with Gates in mind, and then the Village Crier, the Architect, and the Executioner. You may trash up to 2 cards in hand or in discard, and the reason that this could be useful is because you may have villagers that you don't want to draw anymore. They're useless. Whenever you get them into your hand, you're frustrated. They're weak. I'll put the promo cards with my Gates expansion materials because they are geared more towards the Gate side of things, being that they reference the Tavern and the Mill. But otherwise, that is Gate, Gates, and the Gate and Gates cards from the Grey Gnome Pack. Do I recommend this game? Absolutely I do. Even if you only want to pay for the base game, it's a very worthy addition to your collection of games overall, and it is seminal if you are collecting mint tin games. It's a little nerve-wracking at first, but get used to it. Wow, that sounded heartless. Get used to it. It's gonna stress you out, but just don't be stressed, bro. Also, don't worry about having to separate the cards back out. All of the expansion cards will have a little blood drop in the corner, so you'll always know what they're from, Gate or Gates. And that's it for this adventure. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed. Comment what you like down below. Consider joining the Patreon or membership or whatever, and I'll see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave hero, onward and farewell for now.